Hi, welcome to our presentation on Succinct Writing for National Board Certification, a process like no other. I'm Dr. Jenny Santilli. I certified in 2008 in world languages other than English, specifically in Spanish, and renewed my certification in 2017. Some of you may not believe what I'm telling you, but you will be believers by the time you finish your first component. If you find this presentation helpful, we have additional resources for you at the end. Let's get started. This is one of my favorite quotes. Mark Twain said, "Substitute damn every time you're inclined to write very. Your editor will delete it and the writing will be just as it should be." Well, obviously, most of us don't have editors, so we're going to have to learn to do this for ourselves. First, there's some things you have to accept when you're writing for National Board Certification. First, you have never written anything like this in your professional or personal lives. Second, you will repeat yourselves. Follow the prompts. Do not assume the reader will remember what you wrote 10 pages earlier. Third, vivacious vocabulary, grammatically correct grammar, and spectacular spelling are inconsequential. Flowery language and professional jargon are too. There are some words and phrases to avoid, because as you will find out, you will need the space. Adverbs in general. Words like I think, believe, feel, it appears, it seems. And I'll tell you in a little bit exactly why. But you need to sound like an expert. As one of my mentors told me, nobody cares what you think. That stung when she told me that, but then I realized I have to prove everything I'm saying. You also want to avoid in addition to, as well as, not only, but also, and will work just as well and save you lots of space. Also avoid in conclusion, to summarize, and summary. One thing you'll quickly find is this is not a traditional 5-paragraph paper or a term paper where you have an opening, 3 main points, and a conclusion. So words like in conclusion and to summarize aren't necessary. The main thing to remember when you're writing is focus on the so what. Why is this important? Why did you do what you did? So you want to avoid generalizations. It's all about the evidence. Show us why and how you planned the way you did. What happened? How do you know that that happened? And what does it mean for your students? And what does it mean for you as you move forward? So let's look at one question from Component 2 to refresh your memory. Component 2 is about differentiated education and instruction, where you look at 2 students. So here's just one question I pulled from the component. Based on the results of the assessments, how did your instructional practice meet the needs of each of these 2 students and encourage student learning? So here's an answer. You can see from the bottom it's 255 words long. Based on the results of the assessments, my instructional practice met the needs of each of these 2 students and encouraged student learning. For example, student 1 seems to prefer only doing group work. When she has to make a video for an interpersonal communication, face-to-face conversation with one partner, she has to go to the bathroom, says she can't find a partner, or asks to come in at lunch to do it with me. One instructional practice I used was a Kagan strategy of inside-outside circle. Students face each other in a circle. The inside circle asks the question, and the outside circle answers. Round 1, they can use their notes. Round 2, they can only glance at them, and round 3, they don't use notes. They move to the right when finished. After a complete rotation, students trade positions and repeat the process. For this class, student 1 was in the group of 14, so she had 21 times to practice her question and various answers. She was in the inside group asking questions. I think she was nervous at first, but it seemed she gained more confidence as the activity went on. The questions included those required in the assessment, plus ones on topic but not required for the assessment. After students switched sides, I was walking around and listening, and I felt student 1 was nervous again. She calmed down when I reminded her she could read from her notes for the first round. After that, she successfully finished the activity. So the first thing I suggest you do is eliminate unnecessary words. One of my writing instructors when I was going through my doctorate was funny. She said, I know they're your little darlings. I know you love them, but you must cut them out. And eliminating unnecessary words is a ruthless practice. So the first thing we can cross out is based on the results of these assessments. Well, that's pretty obvious because that's what we're doing. We don't need to write that. We don't need to write for example. This is all about giving examples. We don't need to point that out. Now, this one did come from a world language component, so anyone grading interpersonal communication would know that it is face-to-face, and interpersonal kind of tells you that. And obviously, you're going to have a conversation with the partner, so we can eliminate all those. Instead of saying one instructional practice I used was, just say, I used a Kagan strategy. Next, I have some things in red. That means I added some things. So instead of writing students out all the time, the first time I use students, I'm going to put a capital S, small s in parentheses. And so the reader will now, whenever they see the double S, that means students. Instead of rewriting round 1 out all the time, I put in parentheses R1. And you'll notice I took out the words 1, 2, and 3 and substituted those with numerals. Next, a little bit past halfway, we took out for this class. That's pretty obvious. What else would it be for? And was in the group of 14. So it really doesn't matter what the math is. The important thing is that student 1 had 21 times to practice. So I took out she was in the inside group asking questions, and instead of that whole sentence, I just added it in red to the next sentence. I think she was nervous at first asking questions. Again, we don't need in the assessment. Moving on down, well, it's obvious you were walking around and listening. How else would you know that student 1 felt nervous again? Okay, so, all right, we're down 45 words, and I'm not going to take the time to read it, but if you want to pause the video and read it over, you can tell it just sounds a lot better. It's a little bit more tight. But now you need to be the expert, so you have to act like it. So we have student 1 seems to prefer. But think about it, which sounds better? Student 1 seems to prefer, I kind of think she does, or to sound like an expert, student 1 prefers only doing group work. Next, you didn't just randomly pick this Kagan strategy. You want to, and you need to do this throughout your writing, you purposefully chose a Kagan strategy. But again, we're not going to put the word purposefully in there because that's an adverb. We don't need it. But that's just to show you why you use chose. We have an I think. We don't even need to use that. Again, another it seemed. We can just say, no, she did gain more confidence. And I felt. So when we change those to prefers, chose, was nervous, gained, was nervous again, we eliminated 53 words altogether. So this sentence that you already have is good. You already had evidence there. She wants to go to the bathroom, she can't find a partner, or she wants to do it with you. Why did you choose a Kagan strategy? We have a lot of Kagan strategies available. Why this one? You chose it because students can practice multiple times. Yes, I know we're adding words, but it's okay because you're adding evidence. How did you know she was nervous and gained more confidence? Because she looked more at the students and less at her notes. How did you know she was nervous again? She calmed down. You observed that she was bending her note card and looking at the ground, but she took a deep breath. And finally, how do you know she was successful? Because she looked at the students and quit using her notes even before round one ended. So now we're going to read through for clarity. This one sentence that's underlined is just out of place. The questions included those required plus ones on topic but not required for the assessment. So I'm going to move that and put it more in the beginning. They doesn't make it really clear, so I want people to know that the outside circle is the one that moves to the right when they're finished answering. Okay, so now let's take one last brutal look. We are down to 236 words. We don't need that of each. And where I didn't notice before, but in my tagline to start the answer, I have students in there. So I'm going to put the double S up there. And I can eliminate some other extra words and still say what I need to say. So I'm going to take out only doing. When she has to make a video, change all that to records. Don't say she has to go, but she does go to the bathroom. She can't find a partner. And it doesn't matter when she comes in. She just wants to do it with me, not with the student. And I'm going to eliminate these other students and use the double S in parentheses. And we're going to take the outside circle because we mentioned circle earlier in the sentence. And this one sentence didn't quite make sense. Included ones required but not required for the assessment. So I just added, I included familiar and unfamiliar questions to mimic real life. So not only did you clarify it, but it added to your expertise because it explained why you did what you did. We can eliminate they can use, just they read from their notes, they glance at them, and then they have no notes. Now this one looks a little bit out of place, so we'll move it back up. And we're going to eliminate some more words. So we got another one out of place, and we took a few more words out. So at the end, we put in, I gave student 1 21 times to ask and answer and knew she learned when she said, this isn't too bad. So not only is it clarifying, it gives more evidence. One thing candidates sometimes neglect to do is really pay attention to what their students are saying, because their responses are considered evidence. So when students say, oh, this wasn't so bad, or I'm really frustrated doing this, or wow, I'm glad I can do this now, it's okay to put those things in. That is considered evidence. So we eliminated a total of 44 words, which maybe it doesn't sound like a whole lot. However, look how much evidence you were able to add, which just makes your component stronger. And we also put in words that show that you are the expert in your classroom, and this is why you make the decisions you do. Some final notes. First, about writing hacks. We didn't discuss that in detail too much in this presentation, but online there are numerous resources, blogs, etc., where you can find some tips. However, I have to caution the language arts and English language learner candidates, this really is a double-edged sword for you because you want to save space. However, writing conventions are part of your content knowledge. So use your own judgment. For example, we know one candidate who actually substituted an ampersand for every and. The other note is about emotion. So when I've given this presentation in the past, some people think because I tell you to eliminate words like I feel, I think, that you need an almost robotic type of commentary in your component, and that's not true. I want you to eliminate I think, I feel when it's dealing with an opinion. You're not real sure. But if you are proud of what your students have accomplished, or you're really happy with how something turned out, or the progress a child has made, it's okay to express that. Two resources that really helped me were the Strunk and White Elements of Style. It's considered a very classic book on writing. Another one may surprise you a little bit, and that is Stephen King's On Writing. I found his sections particularly helpful where he edited. Another final resource I want to share with you is National Board Certification for Teachers, Mapping Your Journey. This is a book that my colleagues and I wrote. It's based on the curriculum we found we needed to design to reflect the recent changes the National Board made in the process for certification. In particular, Chapter 3 gives great detail. It covers the 3 styles of writing that you need for certification, how to prepare to write, how to edit your work, and some practical writing hacks. We also invite you to join our Facebook community, My National Board for Teachers. And if you would like more videos and other resources, we invite you to visit our website, www.mynationalboard.com. Thank you, and I hope you learned some great techniques to use, and we wish you the best of luck in your journey.